The strange meeting. The space station floated in silence, a giant circle of metal turning slowly above a blue gas giant. Hundreds of ships came and went every hour, and traders from 100 worlds walked the long halls. Humans were still new in this part of the galaxy, so when one walked past, aliens often stopped and stared. The young human explorer moved carefully through the crowd. His name was Daniel, though most here just called him the Terran. He had come to learn, to see, and maybe to make friends in this strange new world. But he had not expected what was about to happen. At first, he noticed them only from the corner of his eye. Two tall figures, standing perfectly still near the market gate. They looked almost the same sharp cheekbones, same strange silver eyes, same smooth blue skin. Twins, yes, but not human twins. Their clothes shimmered like water under light, and their faces carried no expression. Daniel slowed his steps. There was something unsettling about them. Every other alien in the hall gave them space, as if afraid. No one looked them in the eyes. No one spoke to them. It was as if an invisible circle surrounded the twins. And then the twins moved at the exact same time, like a mirror image splitting across the air. They both turned their heads toward Daniel, both sets of silver eyes locking on him. He felt a chill. His hand brushed against the metal wall, as if steadying himself. And then, before he could turn away, the twins stepped forward. Their movements were silent, smooth, and too perfect. Human, one of them said. The voice was soft but carried weight. Terran, the other added, the same tone, the same sound. They spoke like echoes, one after another. Daniel swallowed hard. Yes, he managed, trying to sound calm. Around him, the crowd had already moved further away. The hall felt empty now, except for him and the twins. The twins stood close, their heads tilting at the same angle. Then, with strange precision, they raised their hands. Their long fingers pointed at him, and they spoke together this time, voices blending like one strange song. Use both hands. Daniel blinked. I'm sorry, what? He asked, unsure if he had heard right. The twins' eyes did not move, did not blink. Again, they said it, slower, clearer. Use both hands at once. A nervous laugh almost escaped Daniel's throat, but he stopped it. This was no joke. The way they stood, the way the air felt heavy around them. It was serious. But why would they ask him this? What kind of request was that? What do you mean? He asked carefully. His voice echoed slightly in the hollow market hall. The aliens nearby watched from a distance, curious but too afraid to step closer. The first twin leaned in. You will understand, he whispered. The second twin added, if you accept. Daniel's heart beat faster. He could not tell if they were threatening him or testing him. But deep inside, something told him this was important. Something bigger than him, bigger than this station. The twins stepped back at the same time. Then they gestured with their long arms, pointing toward a narrow corridor at the edge of the market. Follow, they said together. Their voices were calm, but there was no choice in the command. Daniel hesitated. He looked around. Nobody met his eyes. The crowd kept moving, pretending not to see. It was clear no one was going to help him. His instincts screamed danger, but curiosity burned stronger. Why him? Why this strange request? What did both hands even mean? Daniel took a deep breath. All right, he said slowly, I'll follow. The twins turned at the same time. They walked side by side, like two shadows perfectly linked. Daniel followed them into the narrow corridor, the lights dimming as they walked further away from the market noise. The air grew colder. The walls of the corridor were covered with old markings, symbols he could not read. The twins never spoke again, but he felt their silence pressing against him. Every step echoed too loudly. Every breath felt heavy. Finally, the corridor opened into a wide chamber. The walls glowed faintly, lines of light crawling across metal like veins. At the center stood two strange machines, tall and silent. Each had a console, each glowing faintly with alien runes. Daniel stopped, staring. The twins turned toward him, their silver eyes shining brighter in the glow. Together, they raised their hands again, and for the third time, their voices came as one. Use both hands at once. The chamber hummed. The machines flickered to life. Daniel's pulse raced. Something inside him whispered, this was only the beginning. The alien twins' request. Daniel stood frozen, his eyes moving from one glowing console to the other. The machines pulsed with soft light, like a heartbeat hidden inside the walls. The twins stood before him, perfectly still, their silver eyes never leaving his face. Finally, one of them spoke. You wonder why we chose you. The voice was calm, too calm. The other twin added without pause. You wonder what this test means. Daniel nodded slowly, his throat dry. Yes, he admitted, his voice steady but low. Why me? What is this about? The twins tilted their heads in the same way, like reflections in a mirror. For the first time, Daniel noticed a faint mark on their foreheads, 2 glowing circles. When they spoke again, their voices came together, a strange harmony. Our people live in symmetry, always 2, never 1. The words echoed across the chamber, carried by something more than sound. We are born as pairs, we think as pairs, we act as pairs. Daniel frowned. Twins, he asked softly, all of you? The first twin stepped closer, his silver eyes cold, but not cruel. Yes, human, always twins, never alone. The second twin's voice followed. No task is done without 2 hands. No decision is made without 2 minds. Daniel's gaze drifted to the consoles. 2 machines, 2 sets of controls. It began to make sense, maybe too much sense. Then why me? He asked again. The silence after his question was heavy. The twins turned their heads toward each other, then back to him. The chamber's glow seemed to sharpen, as if listening too. The first twin lifted his hand, long fingers stretched wide. You have a body we do not, he said. You carry both halves in one form, the second added. 2 hands, 1 mind, they finished together. Daniel took a step back, his heart beating faster. You're saying, you need me to do something you can't? The twins' eyes brightened. Not only need, one whispered. Depend, the other finished. Then, with perfect timing, they both said, without you, the balance breaks. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to laugh, to shout, to tell them he was just one man who had wandered too far from the market. But he saw no humor in their faces. The twins were deadly serious. What if I refuse? He asked, trying to sound bold. For the first time, the twins blinked, together, slow and heavy. If you refuse, one said softly, the chamber will close. The other continued. Balance will fail. They finished in unison, and the station will fall. Daniel's stomach sank. The whole station, he whispered, almost to himself. The twins did not answer. Instead, they moved aside, revealing more of the chamber. The walls shifted, sliding open to show complex machinery stretching far beyond his sight. It was not just a small test. It was part of the station's core, and maybe part of something larger. Daniel felt the weight of choice pressing down on him. If they were telling the truth, thousands of lives were at risk. If they were lying, then he was already trapped. Either way, he was caught. The first twin's hand rose again. Palm open, fingers steady. Human, he said. The second twin mirrored him. Terran, he added. Their voices came together once more. Use both hands at once. Daniel licked his dry lips, his eyes locked on the consoles. Why me? He whispered again. The twins stepped closer, their voices dropping like a secret. Because only humans can fight themselves, said one. And still remain one, said the other. The words struck him harder than any threat. It wasn't just about pressing 2 buttons. It was about balance, conflict, unity, the machines, the test, maybe the whole reason they had watched him in the market. It all connected. Daniel's hands trembled as he raised them, one toward each console. The runes glowed brighter, waiting, almost hungry. The chamber hummed louder. The twins leaned forward, their silver eyes glowing like stars. And then, in the deepest voice yet, together they said, show us the strength of the human mind. Daniel closed his eyes. His fingers touched the consoles, and in that moment, the station itself seemed to hold its breath. The first attempt, Daniel stood with both hands hovering over the consoles. The runes shimmered under his palms, glowing brighter the closer he came. The chamber hummed like a living thing, low and deep, shaking in his chest. The twins did not move. They stood side by side, their silver eyes glowing, their breath slow. It felt like they were not only watching him, but weighing him, judging him. "Begin," one twin whispered. Now the other finished. Daniel took a breath, steadying himself. Then, with a sharp exhale, he pressed both consoles at once. The chamber exploded with light. A wave of energy rippled through the room. The consoles vibrated under his hands, symbols racing across the surface. Daniel clenched his teeth, his arms trembling from the sudden resistance. It was like pressing against water that turned solid. The harder he pushed, the more it fought back. "What is this?" he grunted. The first twin tilted his head. "The test," he said simply. The second twin's voice followed. "Balance of hand, balance of mind." Daniel's muscles strained as the consoles pushed against him. He tried to use raw strength, forcing both hands downward. But the runes flickered red, alarms shrieking from the walls. The ground shook, sparks flying from the machines. "Stop!" Daniel shouted, pulling back. The consoles released him, snapping upright with a hiss. The chamber lights dimmed, leaving only a dull glow. Daniel staggered backward, gasping for air. His palms burned, faintly marked with glowing lines where he had touched the runes. It felt like the machines had bitten him. "What the hell was that?" he demanded. The twins did not flinch. Their voices were calm, almost too calm. "You failed," said one. "You rushed," said the other. "Humans always rush." They finished together. Daniel's anger flared. "You didn't tell me what to do. You just said use both hands." The twins stepped forward, moving in perfect rhythm. Their silver eyes locked on him. "The task is not strength," the first said. "It is harmony," the second added. "Two hands, one mind," they spoke together. Daniel shook his head. He wanted to shout at them, to walk away. But the station's hum reminded him this wasn't just about pride. If what they said was true, if the station's core depended on this, then quitting wasn't an option. He looked back at the consoles, the glowing runes pulsing like a heartbeat. "All right," he muttered, "one more try." The twins did not smile. They simply stepped back into their mirror stance. "Then try again," one said. "And do not think of strength," the other whispered. Daniel stepped forward, his hands hovering over the consoles once more. This time he paused. He let his breathing slow. He forced his racing thoughts to quiet. "Two hands, one mind," he repeated in his head. Not force, not power, but balance. Like when he used to play piano as a kid, both hands moving together but not the same. Like typing fast, his brain splitting across keys but staying in rhythm. Like fixing machines back on Earth, each hand doing something different, yet part of the same whole. Slowly, he pressed both consoles again. This time, he didn't force them. He matched the pressure on each side, balancing them like scales. The runes flickered, shifting from red to soft blue. The consoles pushed back again, heavy and stubborn. But instead of fighting, Daniel adjusted, matching their rhythm. The twins leaned forward, silver eyes glowing brighter. "Yes," whispered one. "He learns," the other said. Daniel felt sweat dripping down his temple. Every muscle in his arms burned, but this time the machines responded differently. The glow spread from the consoles into the floor, lines of light racing across the chamber. The walls pulsed, alive with strange energy. But then, too much at once. The consoles jolted, a surge of power blasting upward. Daniel cried out as his arms flew back, the energy searing through his palms. The machines snapped back into silence. The chamber dimmed again, the glow fading into nothing. He felt at his knees, breathing hard. Smoke curled from the consoles, faint but real. His hands shook as he stared at the glowing lines still burned into his skin. The twins stood unmoving, but their voices were softer now. "Closer," one said. But not enough, the other finished. Daniel lifted his head, his voice hoarse. So what happens if I never get it right? The twins tilted their heads together, their silver eyes unblinking. Then the balance breaks. They whispered in unison, and all falls. Daniel closed his fists, ignoring the burn. His jaw tightened, his eyes fixed on the consoles. He knew one thing for certain now. This was no small test. This was survival. Human ingenuity. Daniel sat on the cold floor of the chamber, his hands still marked with glowing burns. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, but his eyes stayed locked on the consoles. Failure still burned hotter than the marks on his skin. The twins stood unmoving, their silver eyes shining faintly. They did not scold him, did not guide him. They only waited, like statues carved from living stone. Finally, Daniel pushed himself up to his feet. I get it now, he said, his voice rough but steady. It's not about strength. The first twin tilted his head slightly. The second mirrored the movement. Explain, they said together. Daniel held out his hands, showing the faint, glowing scars. When I forced it, the machines resisted, he said. When I matched them, they responded, even if only for a moment. The twins stared silent. Daniel went on, his voice gaining strength. It's like music, he said. Two different notes, but they can play together. For the first time, a faint ripple passed over the twins' faces. Not quite a smile, not quite surprise, but something like interest. Daniel took a step closer to the consoles again. I can't treat my hands like copies, he said, almost to himself. Each has to move different, but both still follow the same rhythm. The twins exchange a glance. And the first whispered, he begins to see. The second added, he begins to adapt. Daniel closed his eyes. He thought of home, his mother's old piano, the keys worn and chipped. He remembered how one hand would play melody while the other kept rhythm. Different motions, but one song. He remembered typing late at night, each finger moving without thought. He remembered fixing broken machines with one hand holding steady while the other twisted and turned. Two hands, one mind. He pressed the consoles again. This time, he let his left hand move steady, slow, keeping balance. His right hand adjusted, lighter, shifting with the rhythm of the glow. The runes flickered and held. The chamber's hum rose, deeper, smoother. The glow spread across the floor once more, but slower now, like controlled fire. The twins leaned forward, their silver eyes glowing brighter. Yes, one whispered. He bends the song. The other added. Daniel's arms trembled, sweat dripping down his face. But he kept the rhythm. His hands moved differently, yet together. Not fighting, not forcing, guiding. The consoles began to open, panels sliding apart, revealing glowing crystals deep inside. Energy pulsed between them like lightning caught in glass. The chamber shook, but it was not chaos this time. It was alive, awake. Daniel gritted his teeth, holding steady. His body screamed with exhaustion, but his mind stayed sharp. Come on, he whispered. Work with me. The crystals inside the consoles flared. A beam of light shot upward, striking the ceiling. Symbols unfolded across the chamber walls. Maps, patterns, spirals of stars. It was not just a test, it was a machine of knowledge. But then the rhythm shifted. The left console slowed, the right sped up. Daniel felt the harmony slipping. The machines were no longer matching. They wanted him to split even further. Impossible, one twin whispered. No one can divide so far, the other said. Daniel's teeth clenched. No one, except a human, he growled. He shifted, letting his left hand move steady as stone. His right hand danced faster, adjusting in tiny, chaotic motions. Two different patterns, but his mind held both. It was chaos, but controlled chaos. The consoles roared, light bursting out like fire. The chamber shook so hard the floor split in glowing cracks. Daniel's arms burned, his muscles on the edge of tearing. But he held on. He balanced order with chaos. One hand steady, one hand wild. And together they worked. The twins' eyes widened, glowing brighter than ever. He does it, one whispered. He divides, yet stays whole, the other added. The chamber blazed with light. The beam from the crystals reached higher, breaking open the ceiling itself. Above, Daniel saw not wires or metal, but a projection of stars. A map of the galaxy spreading out before him. Routes and symbols unknown to humans, or maybe to anyone. Finally, the consoles released him. Daniel stumbled back, collapsing to his knees, gasping for air. His hands smoked, the glowing scars deeper now. But his eyes stayed locked on the star map above. The twins stepped forward, for the first time not in perfect unison. One whispered, "We did not believe." The other finished softly, "But the human proves us wrong." Daniel lifted his head, sweat dripping, breath ragged. What is this place?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The twins raised their arms toward the map. "The memory of our ancestors," one said. "The path they could not walk," the other added. Their voices joined once more. "Now you carry it." Daniel's heart pounded. He wasn't sure if this was a victory or a curse. The galaxy map glowed above him, endless and terrifying. And somewhere deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning, the hidden challenge. The chamber glowed with the light of the star map. Daniel stood trembling, sweat on his brow, his hands still glowing with faint scars. The twins stood before him, silent, their silver eyes brighter than before. Daniel whispered, half to himself, "So, I passed your test." The twins did not nod, did not move. Instead, their voices rose together. "You passed the surface," one said. "But the true test waits," the other added. Daniel's chest tightened. "True test?" he asked. "I nearly burned my arms off already." The twins tilted their heads in unison, their silver eyes fixed on him. "What you touched was only a key," one explained. "What comes next is the door," the other finished. Before Daniel could ask more, the chamber floor shook. The console slid back into the ground, vanishing. The star map above him shattered into shards of light. The walls shifted and peeled away, revealing another room beyond. This new chamber was darker, colder. The air was heavy, carrying a strange vibration that made Daniel's bones ache. In the center of the room stood two massive pillars. They pulsed faintly with light, like two hearts beating in different rhythms. Daniel frowned. "What now?" he muttered. The twins stepped into the new chamber, their movements perfectly mirrored. They raised their hands toward the pillars. "Here lies the balance broken," one whispered. "Here lies the task only you can attempt," the other added. Daniel walked closer, his boots echoing in the vast silence. He noticed the pillars were not the same. One glowed faint blue, calm and steady. The other pulsed red, wild and chaotic. He turned to the twins. "What am I supposed to do with these?" The twins answered together. "Touch both, hold both, keep them alive." Daniel blinked. "Both?" At the same time. "Yes," one twin said. "Without one, the other dies," the other explained. "And if both die, the station falls." They finished in unison. Daniel felt his throat go dry. His hands still ached from the last test. Now, they wanted him to hold not just two consoles, but two living energies pulling in opposite directions. He hesitated, staring at the glowing pillars. One calm, one raging. It was like being asked to hold fire in one hand and water in the other, without letting either spill. Slowly, he raised his hands. His left reached for the blue pillar, his right for the red. The moment his skin touched them, a surge of energy rushed through his body. He gasped, nearly falling to his knees. The blue pillar cooled his left arm, steady and heavy. The red pillar burned his right arm, wild and sharp, two forces ripping through him at once. Daniel's vision blurred. His body screamed in pain. He felt like he was being torn in half. The twins' voices echoed through the chamber. "This is why no one else can try," one said. "No alien body can divide like yours," the other added. Daniel clenched his teeth. He wanted to let go, to fall, to end the pain, but he forced his mind to focus. Two hands, one mind, but now two powers, one will. His left hand steadied the calm rhythm. His right fought to tame the wild surge. Every second felt like an hour. His muscles shook, his chest burned, but slowly he began to guide them. The pillars pulsed brighter. The blue flowed steadier. The red less violent, like they were listening to him. Daniel's breath came hard. "Come on," he growled. "Stay with me." The twins stepped closer, watching intently. Their silver eyes glowed brighter. "He bends them," one whispered. "He holds what cannot be held," the other added. The chamber roared. The two pillars sent out beams of light, crashing into the center. Where they met, a new shape formed, a sphere of pure white energy spinning faster and faster. Daniel's arms shook violently. He felt his strength slipping. His vision darkened at the edges. Then, with a final cry, he forced both hands forward, guiding the blue and red into harmony. The sphere exploded with light, flooding the chamber. When the glow faded, Daniel collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. The pillars were gone. Only the sphere remained, floating above him, silent and steady. The twins stepped forward, their movements slower this time. They looked at the sphere, then at Daniel. For the first time, their voices carried something like awe. "You held fire and water," one said. "You turned chaos and calm into one," the other added. Together, they whispered, "You are the bridge." Daniel lay on the floor, his chest heaving. His hands glowed brighter than ever, his skin etched with strange new lines of light. He looked up at the sphere, fear and wonder in his eyes. "What did I just unlock?" he asked weakly. The twins' silver eyes gleamed. Their voices dropped to a whisper, chilling the air. "Not a key," one said. "Not a door," the other added. "But a weapon," they finished together. Daniel's heart froze. The sphere pulsed once, as if alive, and he realized the true challenge was not surviving this room. It was surviving what came next. The breakthrough. The sphere of light floated above Daniel, silent yet alive. Its glow bathed the chamber in white, casting no shadow, no warmth, only a strange weight that pressed against the skin. Daniel lay on the ground, chest heaving, his hands burning with glowing scars that seemed to crawl further up his arms. The twins stood before the sphere, silver eyes wide. For the first time, their perfect calm had broken. One whispered, "It breathes." The other added softly, "It waits." Daniel forced himself up on one elbow. His body screamed with pain, but his mind burned with questions. What is it?" he rasped. The twins turned to him in perfect unison. Their voices joined. "It is the heart of the forgotten, the weapon of the lost." The word weapon sent a chill through him. He stared at the sphere, which pulsed faintly as if in rhythm with his own heartbeat. A terrifying thought crossed his mind. Had he awakened it, or had it awakened him? The twins moved closer to the sphere. Their mirrored hands rose, fingers stretching toward the glow. But as soon as they reached, the sphere recoiled. Its light flared, forcing them back with a burst of energy. Daniel's eyes widened. "It doesn't want you," he said quietly. The twins froze, their silver eyes locking on him. "It wants me," he whispered. The twins spoke together, voices tense. "It answers only to the human." Daniel swallowed. The sphere drifted lower until it hovered just above his chest. His scars burned brighter, matching its glow. He felt its weight pressing against his mind. Not words, but impressions, memories that weren't his own. Stars dying, planets falling into fire. Twin figures like his guides, holding weapons of light. And always the same choice, balance or ruin. Daniel gasped, clutching his head. The visions burned like lightning in his skull. But with them came something else, a rhythm. Like the consoles before, like the pillars. The sphere was testing him, pushing him. He reached up, trembling, and laid both hands on its surface. The chamber exploded with light. The walls rippled, peeling away to reveal not metal but endless sky. He was no longer in the station. He was standing in the middle of stars. The twins appeared beside him, their forms flickering in the cosmic light. They looked smaller here, less certain. "This is the inner map," one whispered. The memory of the weapon, the other said. Daniel looked around. Everywhere he saw paths of light, routes stretching across the galaxy, crossing, splitting, weaving like rivers. At their center burned a single flame, bright and terrible. "What is that?" he asked, pointing. The twins' voices lowered, almost reverent. "The end," said one. "The beginning," said the other. "Only the bridge can walk there," they said together, their voices trembling. Daniel's heart raced. He looked at his glowing hands, then at the sphere. "Why me?" he demanded. "There are millions of humans. Why me?" The twins lowered their heads. "You were not chosen by us," one said. "You were chosen by the sphere," the other finished. The weight of their words struck Daniel harder than the visions. The sphere pulsed against his palms. He felt it pulling not just at his body, but at his thoughts. It wanted to merge, to become part of him. Fear twisted in his gut. If he accepted it, what would happen to him? Would he still be human? Or something else? Something worse? The twins stepped closer, their silver eyes almost pleading now. "You must bind with it," one whispered. "Or the station will die," the other added. Daniel clenched his jaw. Every instinct screamed to let go, to run, to escape. But then he thought of the crowded halls outside, the traders, the children, the voices of life echoing through the station. If he refused, they would all be gone. He had no choice. With a growl, he pressed both hands harder into the sphere. The light surged, swallowing him whole. Pain shot through every nerve. He screamed, but the sound was lost in the storm of light. When the glow finally dimmed, Daniel stood tall in the chamber once more. The sphere was gone, but his scars now burned brighter, etched into his skin like living fire. His eyes glowed faintly, silver mixed with human brown. The twins fell to one knee, lowering their heads. "The bridge is made," one whispered. "The weapon has chosen," the other added. Daniel staggered, gripping the wall for balance. "I don't want to be your weapon," he spat. But the twins did not answer. Their silence told him everything. The chamber hummed, deep and heavy. Far above, the station groaned as if shifting under new weight. And in the silence that followed, Daniel understood. This was not just about saving the station. It was about carrying something far older, far heavier, a burden no human had ever known. And somewhere deep inside the glowing scars, the sphere pulsed once more. Not with anger, not with chaos, but with hunger, the strange reward. The chamber was quiet now. Daniel stood in the middle, his chest heaving, his skin burning with silver scars that crawled like veins of light. The sphere was gone, but he could still feel it pulsing deep inside him, like a second heartbeat. The twins rose slowly from their knees, their faces pale in the glow of his hands. For once, they did not speak together. The first twin whispered, "The weapon is bound." The second lowered his eyes, "The burden is his." Daniel's throat felt dry. He staggered, gripping the wall for balance. "What did you do to me?" he demanded, his voice raw. His own echo sounded strange in the chamber, as if it belonged to more than one voice. The twins looked at him, their silver eyes soft but heavy. "You are the bridge," one said. "You carry what no twin can hold," the other added. Together, their voices joined in a whisper. "You are human." Daniel clenched his fists, the scars glowing brighter. He wanted to shout, to fight, but before he could, the chamber shifted again. The walls peeled back like sliding stone. Beyond them stretched not another room, but a vision. He saw stars burning, planets falling, endless wars fought in silence. And then he saw them, alien figures with eyes of fire, their ships swallowing worlds. A force unlike anything Earth had ever faced. At the center of it all, he saw the same sphere of light, multiplied 1,000 times, each carried by a figure like him, alone, scarred, burning with unnatural power. Daniel gasped. "This isn't just about your station," he whispered. The twins lowered their heads. "No," said one. "It is about survival," said the other. The vision faded, leaving the chamber once more. But the weight of it pressed on Daniel's chest like iron. He staggered, his voice low. You made me into your weapon. The twins did not answer. Instead, they raised their hands together. Between them, a small crystal formed, glowing faintly with the same white light as the sphere. It floated toward Daniel, landing softly in his scarred hands. He stared at it, afraid to touch, but unable to let go. "What is this?" he asked. The twins' voices trembled as they spoke. "It is the map," one said. "It is the warning," the other added. Together, "It is your reward." Daniel's breath caught. The crystal pulsed against his skin, sending flashes into his mind. Worlds marked in red, star systems burning, names whispered in languages he did not know. And behind it all, something watching, something vast and patient. He dropped the crystal with a cry. It floated in the air instead of falling, hovering before him like a living eye. The twins stepped closer, their silver eyes unblinking. "You carry it now," one whispered. "It will carry you," the other added. Daniel shook his head, his voice rising. "I didn't ask for this. I don't want your war. I don't want your curse." The twins moved closer, their voices calm but final. "Choice was never yours," they said together. Daniel backed away, his scars burning brighter. The crystal followed him, floating near his chest like a tether. He realized with horror that he could never be free of it. It belonged to him now, or worse, he belonged to it. The chamber doors slid open, light from the station's halls spilling in. The market voices echoed faintly in the distance. It almost felt normal, almost safe. But Daniel knew nothing would ever be the same. Not with the crystal bound to him, not with the sphere pulsing in his veins, not with the vision of those burning worlds still alive in his mind. The twins lowered their heads once more. "This is only the first step," one said. "The enemy has already seen you," the other whispered. Their voices joined for the final time. "And they are coming." Daniel froze, the words slicing through him like cold steel. The crystal pulsed once more, as if agreeing. Somewhere beyond the walls of the station, somewhere deep in the galaxy, a force stirred. It had seen him. It had marked him. Daniel's fists clenched, his scars blazing with light. He did not feel like a hero. He did not feel like a savior. He felt like prey. The chamber went silent. The twins faded into the shadows, leaving him alone. Only the crystal floated before him, humming softly. Waiting, Daniel stared at it, his breath slow, his mind torn. He whispered into the silence. "What have you dragged me into?" The crystal pulsed, brighter than ever. And in the quiet, a voice not his own whispered back. "You will see."